New videos every day.
I'm sure you're interested in learning how to either make millions and billions of dollars very quickly, or how Wall Street managed to do it with a view from the inside. What they did is they set up a game, and I'm going to present to you how they did it in the form of a game. And we'll call the game the Money Changer game. Now, what I want to do, I want to have an understanding here, is that all games have rules, and rules are set by the officials. And the officials, when they set the rules, if they're tilted in anyone's favor, then the game's not a fair game. Now, in the Money Changer game, there are three players. There are the money changers, the borrowers, and the secondary lenders. Now, the rules are set by the officials, and they have to be fair, but in this case, both in this game and also in real life, the money changers set up the game, and they paid the officials in advance to set the rules in their favor. I think it's also important that the media won't tell you or anyone else how it was actually done, either because they don't know and they won't look, or if they do know, they don't want to lose their big paychecks from their corporate employers. Now, we're calling this the Money Changer game, and the idea behind this game is to convert money into notes and then reconstitute those notes as bonds, and then selling the bonds to the secondary lenders, who are in essence lending money back to the money changers. That converts those notes back into money. Now, loans can be made to mortgages, and they particularly like subprime and adjustable rate mortgages. And also, this game is played with car loans, boat loans, airplane loans, and particularly adjustable rate loans like credit cards, business and commercial loans, and almost any other type of loan, including things like cosmetic surgery. So, with that understood, I'm going to show you how the game is played. And the way it goes is like this. The money changers will pay big money to people to go out and lend money. And they'll pay as much as $200,000 a year or more in salaries. And then at the end of each year, they pay out big bonuses in millions, tens of millions, and in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars. So what they do is they'll get somebody like you to go out and lend money for them. And I'm going to keep this real simple, and I'm just going to use $1 as an example. But you can see from this example that in the case of using millions or billions or trillions of dollars, how it works. So what the money changers want you to do, if you work for them, is to go out and find somebody who will borrow $1 and lend them $1. And when you lend them $1, you charge them, and we're in this example, you charge them 10% interest, and that only yields a dime a year in interest. So 10 cents a year is not going to get anybody really excited. But the money changers have a very slick game here. Now, when somebody borrows $1, they sign an IOU note for that dollar and agree to pay it back plus the interest. The money changers want you to send the note to them, and they take the note once they get it, and they put it in a box. They package the note, And so I'm going to put this in a box as an example. And they take this 10% note and they got it in a box. And then the next thing they do is they go to rating agencies and they tell them, hey, we want you to rate these notes so that we can turn around and sell 5% bonds based on these 10% notes. And we want you to rate the bonds as high as possible, even as high as AAA, which means no risk. And so the rating agencies get paid a big chunk of money to do that. And they kiss the paper and say it's, really good and really safe. It's kind of like putting a ribbon on the package, or in other words, lipstick on a pig. Now, once they've done that, then they've managed to be able to then turn around and sell bonds. So they go to the secondary lenders who buy bonds, which are in effect loans, and they're loaning money back to the money changers. And in this case, we're going to use the number 5% because this will keep it real simple. And I'm going to call these sucker bonds. Now, the secondary money market is people like money market fund managers, bond fund managers, people like that, who are taking money from people like you and reinvesting it. And the way they get their money is that Wall Street has managed to get the politicians to appoint people to change the rules, first of all, and then appoint people like Federal Reserve chairmen who hold the bank lending rates real low. So if you go to your bank and you want to put money in a bank in a CD and they're only paying about 1 or 2% interest, then if you can go to a money market fund and get 5%, you'd rather put your money in a money market fund, and that's how they get all the money that they invest in bonds at 5%. So what they do in order to make 5%, now remember, there's only a $1 note in this box paying 10 cents. That's 2 nickels in interest. So the bond buyers will pay, to get 5%, they'll pay $2 to get 2 nickels, 10 cents a year in interest. Now, this $2 buys 2 $1 sucker bonds, and it's only backed by a $1 note. So you can see there's a problem right there, but this is why they didn't mind making loans to anybody that could walk or breathe, because they didn't care about the creditworthiness of the borrowers. What they wanted to do was get these bond funds and money market funds that are managing your money, your retirement money, pension fund money, and all this other money to pay $2 for bonds that were only backed by a $1 note. Now, well, the effect for the money changers is they got their dollar back that they lent out, plus they made 100% profit with this dollar. So they put the profit in the kitty, and then they take that dollar out and they tell you, hey, go back and lend this again. And they just keep playing the game. So they're making 100% on their money. And if they do that 4 times a year, that's 400% on the same dollar. Now, that's an example of a 10% note and reconstituting that note in 5% bonds. Now, some loans are a little riskier, and they're able to get 15% on their money. And what happens is 15% loans pay 15 cents a year, and the bond buyers will pay $3 for 3 bonds, 3 5% bonds, and the money changers got their dollar back and they made $2 in profit. And they put that in the kitty and they give the dollar back to you and say, go out and lend this again. Now, they really like adjustable rate loans like credit cards, and you've probably heard of people, if it hasn't been done to you, where their interest rate has been jacked up to 30%. Well, a 30% note reconstituted as a 5% bond enables them to sell the money market funds 6 times that dollar. So they pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $6 for 6 $1 5% sucker bonds. But it's only backed by a $1 loan. So that's how Wall Street was able to make a ton of money with everyone's money that was being deposited with money market funds. Now, some people would buy, bonds directly, and they were getting hooked into it too. And people from all over the world were falling for this ruse because they didn't want to get the low interest rates paid by the banks on CDs. So they were putting their money in money market funds and bond funds. And it was a shell game. The bottom line is that what happened with this financial crisis was not an accident, and it wasn't a matter of stupidity. It was actually a cleverly designed game, and it's a game played in real life. Now, when the wheels came off, when that $1 in this box, when the note went bad, the borrower couldn't pay it or even part of it, then the wheels fell off of the game. But in the meantime, the money changers paid out big bonuses. They paid out huge salaries and big bonuses to the people that were playing the game with them. They also paid out about $5 billion to lobbyists to bribe the politicians to change the rules in order to play the game. And even judges got in on it. After all, it was judges on the Supreme Court who enabled them to start lending money without any usury limits so they could charge whatever interest rate they wanted to charge. That created a problem. The people that got hurt in this game are the money market funds, the pensions, the retirement funds, school districts, cities, states, and entire countries. Countries like Iceland and many Eastern European countries have absolutely been devastated by this game. The borrowers were just guinea pigs, people that borrowed money unknowingly that this was the game being played. Also, the bond traders, the money market funds, were guinea pigs too. So this is how they ripped off you, me, our parents, and grandparents, and devastated our economy. Now, it's politicians and judges who changed the rules to allow usury, and they stripped the SEC of criminal authority, making Wall Street a crime-free zone. And they also changed the bankruptcy law to create virtual debtors' prisons for people like you and me. So far, the effect here in the United States and all over the world has resulted in millions of jobs being lost and millions of people losing their homes. This is the pain that all of us are feeling throughout the world. It's also very important to understand that the rules that set all this up have not been changed. And, in the meantime, we've got, under Bush and Henry Paulson, who profited immensely from this game. Now Obama has Tim Geithner, and they're just giving the money, they're borrowing money and printing money and giving it to banks and not changing the rules. So we don't really have change. In fact, the very problem that caused all this devastation, they're trying to keep this all intact and just giving lip service to changing the rules and regulations. That's something that should have never happened in the first place. And the first thing they should have done is change the rules before they started giving these banks and bankers who ripped off you and me and our parents and grandparents. They should have changed the rules back to where they should be before giving them a nickel. Now, because they're giving all this money to the bankers and keeping them afloat, what they're doing is indebting our children and grandchildren. And if you don't consent to that, then I'm sure you'd like to know what the remedy is, and I'm going to get to that. I want to point out that, by printing tons of money as the Federal Reserve is doing, the effect is this, and some people don't really understand inflation, but when a dollar has a certain amount of purchasing power and they start creating too many of them, then the purchasing power shrinks, and it shrinks to a very small number, a small amount. Ultimately, and this has happened throughout history, the dollar shrinks to the point where it's not worth any more than toilet paper. And anyone who really understands history knows that every nation that has collapsed and fallen from grace has done so because the money changers have colluded with politicians and judges and played these kinds of games and ripped off the people and destroyed their economies. So that's the direction we're headed.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psychetruth channel.